Hey, I'm Brian from SkatePunk, and today we are going to talk about Skateboarding Made Simple. Skateboarding Made Simple was released in 2013 by Braille Skateboarding. We all know who Braille is at this point. By the time it came out, I already knew how to do most of the tricks then, except for the heel flip. And that was the main reason why I bought it, and also two other reasons, because reason number two was because even though you know a trick sometimes, it can still help to watch tutorials and see how other people explain the trick, so you kind of get another understanding for the motion of the trick, and you can adapt that to the stuff that you already know and like kind of improve your tricks using that method. And reason number three was one of my favorite aspects in skateboarding is teaching others how to skate. Looking at it from that point of view where you're passing on that knowledge to someone else was quite an interesting concept for me. This ebook thing is broken down into chapters. The first two chapters are where Aaron Kyro talks about the skateboard parts and the riding basics, and then every trick from like the ollie to the heel flip is one chapter on its own. So you have one ollie chapter, frontside 180 chapter, backside 180, pop shove it, frontside shove it, kick flip, and then heel flip. The order in which these tricks are laid out makes sense. I understand it. It's not the order that I would have chosen, because to me a pop shove it and frontside pop shove it just feels so much more natural and so easier for me to do than 180s. But I can see how going from an ollie to an 180 is easier to understand and to teach someone who's never stepped on a skateboard before. If we take a look at the skateboard part chapter, he kinda explains everything very roughly, doesn't go too much into detail, and also leaves out stuff like rails or shock pads / riser pads. And I can totally understand why he does that. Obviously not to overwhelm beginners who never, had any connection with skateboarding before, but still it's an ebook, so I think stuff like that should have at least be somewhere in there, because if you're just on YouTube or just Google something and there's an article or a video for someone who has never stepped on a skateboard before, then I can understand letting these, not mentioning it. But if you release an ebook, you can expect the person on the other side to be willing to invest a little bit more time and thought into skateboarding. And when we go to the riding basics section of the SMS book, he uses great analogies, easy to understand everything, and he's actually putting a lot of emphasis on telling you to really ride your board a lot, because that's just overlooked by beginners all the time. One thing that he didn't mention, however, and it's the same with the skateboard parts, was fakie switch and nollie. Like I said, it's something where I can understand why you don't mention it to a complete beginner, not to overwhelm them, but these are so crucial. They are even in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games, they are in the Skate series games, they are in every skate game, I think. They are in surfing, snowboarding, everywhere. They are in almost every action sport, and that's at least worth mentioning and at least kind of explaining it a little bit, especially in a book where someone paid for it and is obviously willing to, put some time into it and learn about skateboarding that way. The tricks themselves are all broken down into many baby steps, which is a great thing, especially when it comes down to the pop shove-its. This is where most beginners start to hit that barrier of not committing. The board does the whole rotation, but they just never land it because they're too scared to land back on the board. And when I started out, I had the same issue. But the way he explains the tricks and the way that it's broken down into all of these baby steps, I can see how that can really help a beginner in not being afraid of landing back on the board, or not as much, and actually committing to the trick and learning it. Because by the time you're at the step of doing the whole trick, you already know how to do the trick. As for the flip tricks, like kickflip and heel flip that are in there, I remember when I first got it, and this was like, I landed my first kickflip 1 year before it came out, and before I got it, and I was struggling with landing my first kickflip for about 2 years. Yes, I'm really that bad at skateboarding, but I was struggling a lot with landing my first kickflip. Once I got Skateboarding Made Simple, I knew I was struggling, and it also helped me, you know, with my consistency in landing kickflips over and over again. And like I mentioned before, I didn't know how to heel flip back then. I knew all the other tricks and could do them fakie, some of them nollie, some of them switch, but I couldn't do a heel flip. And believe it or not, learning the heel flip with the help of this book made me land one within the matter of 1 day, and that wasn't like even a whole day. It was just a few hours that I was skating alone, all by myself, and I could learn how to heel flip very quickly. I mean, of course, I had a better board feeling than probably most of the beginners have that get this book or that are interested in it or that may be the target audience, but it really shows how well these steps work that this book will guide you through. Now, do you need this book and do you need to spend money for something like that? Well, on one side, yeah, I mean, if you download it onto your phone, if you buy it and then download it onto your phone, you don't need to worry about your data plan. You have the written thing if you don't want to watch the video now, and you just look at single steps written on there, and you can practice all by yourself, not worry about your data plan or how good the internet connection is where you're at. And that's a very convenient side of it. But one thing that it really doesn't replace is a patient skater at your skate park that teaches you the tricks. But I know many of us aren't fortunate to have a skate park around, or a skate park where there are actually other people. For us, that can really be a great way to get better at skateboarding and enjoy it, and enjoy learning tricks very easily. So in that sense, yeah, it's a good way to learn how to skateboard. So even though you could get away with the YouTube content and, you know, your local skaters, I still think this ebook is a good investment for everyone starting out. It's not perfect, and even if you have the book and learn how to skateboard with the help of that, I advise you to always look over the fence and always do research on your own online, because this book won't tell you everything, and there's certainly, you know, a very significant lack of information within it. So that being said, if you want to know more about my thoughts on this book, just go on this link or check out the link in the description below, and you can find a blog post where I talked about Skateboarding Made Simple Volume 1, and on that website you can find skateboarding podcasts that I and Julio recorded, or I and special guests recorded. You know, for example, we had FD Skate there the last time, and this month we're actually going to have a punk rock band, a skate punk band, as a guest. And on the website you can also read a lot about, you know, interviews with skateboarding personalities, and overall a bunch of reviews that we publish there. So definitely check skatepunk.eu out, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Stay shredding and go out there and skate.